I'm Robbie,
And I'm Josh.
and today we're going to be breaking down this weekend's conference championship games for you guys.
And we're going to start with a group of 5 conferences. Robbie, AAC, UCF versus Memphis. What do you think?
First off, I think this is going to be a great matchup. Two very prolific offenses. UCF won their first meeting against Memphis 40-13. I don't expect Memphis to get beat that bad this weekend. I think Memphis is a much improved team from when early on. Riley Ferguson been throwing the ball especially well as of late. He struggled in their first matchup. He threw 3 interceptions and offense never really got clicking, and then they never really set their defense up for good opportunities to get stops because UCF was forcing turnovers and just having great field position. So I think the offense is going to need to help out the defense if Memphis wants to ruin UCF's perfect season and win the American Athletic Conference Championship. And, the quarterback battle for this one's going to be epic. You got Riley Ferguson on one side, you got Mackenzie Milton on the other. Riley Ferguson this year, 3,500 yards, 32 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Very comparable to Mackenzie Milton with 3,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Mackenzie Milton, really one of the dark horses for Heisman. Scott Frost thinks he should win Heisman, so I don't we. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. These offenses both put up a lot of points as of late. Memphis coming off that 70-point performance against Eastern Carolina. UCF just scored 49 against Southern Florida. And 2 great head coaches in this one. Mike Norvell for Memphis, Scott Frost for UCF. Both done tremendous jobs with their programs, but I got to give the advantage to Scott Frost for this one. I'm picking UCF by 2 scores, high-scoring game.
I agree with UCF winning. Scott Frost did an amazing job, and I think he's just going to be the better coach at the end of the game. Regardless, both of those coaches have Power 5 jobs in their future. Scott Frost looking really convincing he's going to go for that Nebraska job. Mike Norvell at Memphis, really haven't heard a lot about his name, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's picked up somewhere at a Power 5 team looking to either replace a head coach or get a new coach after they fired him. And I agree that even though Memphis has done a lot lately, they just put 70 points on Eastern Carolina, and that's something you just can't ignore. And they did lose that first game against UCF by 3 touchdowns, about 3 scores. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be much closer this time around. I feel like it might be a 1-score game, very similar to the UCF-USF game in the previous week, where it comes down the wire. But I feel like that even though I'm giving the advantage to UCF and their high-octane offense, I wonder if some of those players are kind of reacting to the speculation around their head coach. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if they're actually going to play as hard as they normally do this game. So if Memphis comes out being the AAC champion, I would not be surprised whatsoever. How about Conference USA? FAU, led by Lane Kiffin, and North Texas.
Well, FAU has had a great season. I love Lane Kiffin. He's one of my favorite college football coaches. He is just such a funny personality. Did you see today he tweeted about Nick Saban?
Yeah, I saw that.
After Nick Saban said that they should be in, despite saying Ohio State last year shouldn't be in, and he said Nick Saban might have rat poisoned himself. I love Lane Kiffin. So FAU won their first meeting against North Texas back in October, 69-31. FAU has a tremendous offense. Lane Kiffin, obviously very offensive-minded person, was a great play caller for Alabama. Has done very well with this FAU offense. Devin Singletary had a big game for FAU, 17 carries, 123 yards, 3 touchdowns. And, that's a big game because 120 yards and 3 touchdowns is a great game for any college football player. But those are honestly, they're kind of reserved numbers for Devin Singletary in the seasons he's had. He's had 1,630 rushing yards this year, as well as 26 rushing touchdowns. That leads the entire nation by 5 for rushing touchdowns. Tremendous athlete back in the backfield for FAU. Mason Fine has been great with North Texas in this offense all season. He's thrown for 3,400 passing yards, 27 touchdowns. Very underrated quarterback, especially when you look at the top group of 5 quarterbacks with, guys like Mackenzie Milton and Riley Ferguson. Mason Fine has also done, a fine job this year, really. But Lane Kiffin has just done too much at FAU this year. They have such a high-scoring offense. I expect FAU to roll again, and I'm picking FAU in this one.
Yeah, I don't think the Mean Green really have a chance with North Texas. FAU, Lane Kiffin does a great job. sometimes when you read a social media profile, you're wondering if this is like a faux Pelini account or if this is an actual coach. But other than that, he might not show up, but he is a phenomenal coach on the field. Obviously, what he's done with Singleton, leading the nation in rushing touchdowns. Last time they played North Texas, they put over 800 yards of offense against them, or total yards against them. Although I don't think they're going to, break 800 again in conference championship. I feel like it's not even going to be close. I would say maybe FAU wins by at least 2 scores, if not 3, maybe even 4. The MAC conference, Akron versus Toledo.
Toledo had such a great season this year. They won 48-21 back in October against Akron. Akron's only 7-5 coming into this one, lowest record of anyone playing in a conference championship game. And Toledo's a 21.5-point favorite in this one, and that's the highest of any conference championship game. Logan Woodside was excellent in their first meeting, throwing for 304 yards and 5 touchdowns. Also had 1 interception, but obviously did not hurt him too bad. Logan Woodside is honestly probably my favorite quarterback in the group of 5 conferences. I think he has such a tremendous arm. He is just so good with that Toledo offense, and their offense is just too explosive. Akron doesn't have any, big playmakers on the outside, and their defense just obviously is not capable of slowing down Toledo. I think Toledo also wins this one in big fashion. Honestly, I think they cover the 21.5-point spread in this one.
I agree. Toledo is going to win, and it's not even going to be close. Their quarterback is on fire, 24 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That's efficiency, and I don't feel like he's going to stop in this conference championship game. I don't think Akron can stop them. They're just not as good of a team, and I feel like it's just going to be a bunch of mismatch on offense and defense. And I agree, Toledo, no chance. Toledo, no chance going to lose. And Jason Cannell, their head coach, I feel like he has a Power 5 job in his future. Now, how about our last group of 5 conference championship in the Mountain West? Boise State versus Fresno State. They just played last week. What are your thoughts?
Well, last Saturday, Fresno State beat Boise State 28-17, so that's any indication. Fresno State should win again, right? But I think Boise State is going to come out ahead on this one. Fresno State had 2 big 4th down stops in that game. Boise State went 0 for 2 for 4th downs, so that obviously hurt them because they were trying to score, but Fresno State just did an excellent job this past weekend of getting them off the field. I don't expect Fresno State to have that much success against this Boise State offense, who is 28th in scoring this year. I don't expect them to have that much success with them this year. And then you look at Boise State's numbers. 33.3 points per game, 28th, 18.2 opponents' points per game. That's 15th in the country. Meanwhile, Fresno State, 91st scoring offense. They don't have the offense that should be able to keep up with Boise State. They did get the better of them the first round only a week ago, but I think Boise State's going to come out on top this year or this conference championship. Both run defenses did tremendously last week. Have done a great job all season. But Boise State's quarterback Brett Rippon, I expect him to be the difference maker in this one. He only went 22 of 31 with 278 yards last week. That's very respectable, but he didn't really do anything too big. Great completion percentage, good yards, no touchdowns though on the day. I don't expect that to happen, especially with the success that he did have with his completion percentage throwing the ball last week against Fresno State. So I expect him to have a big game, and I think Boise State is going to be winning the Mountain West Conference this year.
This is where we're going to have our first disagreement. I think Fresno State's going to win. Boise State, I think they still think they're a powerhouse. They still think they're the king of the Mountain West, and they just are not a powerhouse anymore. The Peterson era is over, and they just aren't relevant anymore like they used to. They're not going to a BCS Bowl almost every year. They're not going to the New Year's Six, and they're not going to be that team in the near future either. And I feel like that's going to be fuel for this Fresno State team, who was at the bottom of their division last year, and their head coach, Jeff Tedford, turned that around. They're now playing for their conference championship. I feel like this is a team that wants to win just way more than Boise State does. And this is why I'm going to pick them to win twice in a row. And I think there'll be a new king of the Mountain West, and that's Fresno State.